shot for the kill, the breeze cut, freeze up, straight dropping the chills. I'm talking taking over pieces and shares of all break sky high. Check the movement is here, yeah. It's one heart, one shot. Now the future is yours. Go. Turning dreams into reality. In the lab with the formula and chemistry. Your memories spark and motivate and make the industry shake. We put the balls in the brakes. I'm talking one chance at best, yes. Painting pictures for the culture, keep the brushes fresh. Flip the cover with the drummer, passion never rests. Freedom is our teacher under pressure, now we blessed. See, I was so good for the go. There's one art, one shot, now the future is yours. Go! Yeah. It's one art, one shot, now the future is yours. Go!
Good evening.
Is this thing
what are
on?
you doing?
Is it on? Oh, hey, Paul. Just screwing around.
I know. That's great. What's up, man? It's great to see you tonight.
Yeah, you too.
It's the last stream of the year. So
we're
going into 2020.
Stream.
What?
We're gonna do it. Are we doing a New Year's countdown stream?
New Year's countdown stream.
Yeah, you like come rock and party with Paul and Kyle to the New Year. I think people are gonna get in line for that one.
I'm sure.
No. Okay.
Grab your bowl of chili and let's go.
I mean, we'd have to do like a big giveaway to get 10 people into that chat room or that live stream.
We got to do a big giveaway to get 10 people in the chat right now. No,
that's true. That is a good point.
Well,
so
that's
Paul,
okay.
So Christmas, how was your Christmas?
Man, it was as hectic as it always is. A lot of family time, which is great. I'm just happy that on Thanksgiving I was like laying down on the floor or in a bed or on a couch because I couldn't walk around, and this is my week 2 of my surgery. Tomorrow will be 2 weeks since I've had my back surgery, and I can actually sit down. I can actually stand up. It's been great. So this Christmas is good. I didn't get this lens that's on my camera was my Christmas present, the 24 millimeter 1.4. And originally I had that fiasco with the UPS, so they sent me the claim check, and like 2 days later I get an email from B&H saying, "Hey, we got your lens finally came in." I'm like, "What?" And then so like last week I got a letter, "Patrick Murphy, what is up, man?" And the other guy, Kyle Watts.
And the other guy. That's fair.
Patrick Murphy, he works at the Apple store in New York, I think. Pat, do you still work for Apple? I have some questions for you. Yeah, so anyway, UPS like sent me a letter saying they want me to pay them back for the claim. But I thought once they paid you a claim, it was for losing your package and not getting it there on time and all that stuff, and that's why you pay insurance. 2 months after I get it, after 2.5 months after I shipped it, they finally get it. It was like way past the 90 the return policy for B&H, so I feel like they should still keep you them. But I called UPS and left them a voicemail and said, "Hey, if you want my check back, you might want to call me back because right now I'm not really interested in sending it back to you. So we need, or I'm not gonna, at least if I do, I'm not gonna send you back the full check. I'm still keeping some of that for the shipping payment. Like I'm getting a free shipment out of this. Like, anyway." I have not for many years. Haha, full-time worship. Oh yeah, okay. So I didn't know you were finally full-time. That's cool. Part-time YouTuber and full-time. Yeah, we know how much of a stud you are. So you have less hair than when I remember when I last saw you. But bald is beautiful, right?
Yeah, I don't think Lindgren wants to hear bald jokes, right?
Lindgren. Oh man, that guy. So Patrick, I haven't seen your video yet. I've been wanting to watch it because you just got the new MacBook Pro, and I just listed, since you probably know or are more aware of this guitar. So I had the Anderson Crowdster. I had the Plus 2 with the 2 electric guitar pickups in it, and it's been sitting on my wall as a wall decoration for like the past 2 years because I've been playing lead guitar at church every single week, and I never really get to play acoustic guitar much at all anymore. So it's been like a beautiful wall decoration. So I was gonna sell it, trade in my 2019 MacBook Pro, the 15-inch, for $1,100, or maybe sell it on Facebook Marketplace for $1,500, depending on how fast I want to move on that, and then buy a cheaper acoustic guitar, probably like a used Taylor or something, and then take the other $1,000 and dump it in the money that I get from this MacBook Pro and get another one, the newer one. Man, whew, that was a mouthful. But that's my goal for 2022. If this Crowdster sells, it's hard. I got that thing custom made, and man, it's green and amazing. But Steve, yeah. Steve, bald is definitely beautiful for you, right? Your wife tells that to you all the time, I'm sure. Yeah, the MacBook Pro is unreal, dude. So Patrick, I'm gonna get the freaking just the stock. I like the 14-inch because I like how more portable it is. I only got the 15-inch Pro because it was the only, like, at that time the 13 inches were not as powerful. They didn't have a dedicated graphics card that was as good as so I got the Vega 20 in this 15-inch. So I'm really excited to be able to get the 14-inch and still get it. I'm just gonna get the stock model with 2 terabyte hard drive upgraded. So and I work for the school system, so I get the education discount. So it'll be about $2,500 after taxes and everything for the base model 14-inch Pro with the upgraded 2 terabyte hard drive. So he got the max.
Spendy.
Yeah, I mean, I saw a lot of the videos, and I feel like the Pro, the difference between the Max and the Pro wasn't enough for me to justify that price difference. I feel like they both performed. Like, I was amazed on how well the Pro could, render how much footage it could render, the 10-bit footage, the Sony footage. I mean, as long as I can stack a few layers of the Sony footage on top of each other, I'm good. That's about the max I ever do. So
yeah, I think for
really
me too,
awesome.
it's having hard drive space is more of like I would spend more money on the hard drive space for sure. But I'm personally still waiting for one that we're predicting in 2022. And that's the iMac. That's what I want to. That's what I want to get.
Yeah, you're a desktop editor. See, I always edit mine on the go at the work, but yeah, you have a iMac now, and you're just looking forward to that. Hopefully, March springtime release of the M1 Pros.
For me too, it's like the iMacs have really, really nice screens, and if I were to dump into a new MacBook, I would get a screen. I wouldn't sit there and look at the screen on a MacBook. I need big screens. That's what I like. And
Well,
like
that screen on the MacBook, I haven't seen it, and I'm sure
it's nice.
Patrick can justify to it. That mini LED 120 hertz. It looks amazing. I mean, it looks like it's gonna be amazing. But
like about a year ago, we spec'd out a 13-inch MacBook Pro mostly for my wife starting vet school and stuff. So we literally put every upgrade in you could on that computer, and it's nice. And then like a month later, they put out the M1 versions, and it just kind of like I spent twice as much to get half the computer at this point. But I personally still want the iMac, because I only ever edit here, and I like having a nice screen, and I don't want to spend X amount of money on the iMac or the MacBook and then go out and spend another $500 on the screen. And for me, it's just like I'd rather just get it all, wait until it's all incorporated.
Yeah, I
And
mean,
there's some
like,
pretty cool rumors talking about this new iMac too, that might
eh,
outperform the hell out of these MacBooks too.
a dual M1 Max chip would be insane. I mean, good night. And then they're also talking about coming out with a MacBook or a Mac Pro, a new Mac Pro that has like a quad. Could you imagine quad performance of that
Mm-hmm.
Max chip? My gosh. I don't even know what, I mean, it's crazy. But um yeah, I agree. Like hard drive space, it's tricky for me because literally I only use my internal hard drive for like software and plugins and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
because I edit off of the Samsung T7 drive. So I have
Mm-hmm.
1 terabyte solid state Samsung T7 dedicated just to YouTube, and then my old 500 gigabyte T5 drive is for what I edit off of for client work. So um because I don't need as much space for the client side
Mm-hmm.
stuff yet. But yeah, I can keep a number of projects on there, so I try to keep like at least one of the branding like that I use as a branding template for each project for the business side of things, and then for my personal stuff, obviously I have my own um, that it's ready, dropping, ready to go.
Yeah, I mean, I use the same thing. I use the T7, or actually T5. I got a really good deal on T5s. Um, it sounds like the new drive speeds on like the M1s are so much faster than these external drives, and it's like
Real
I
quick,
want
anybody can ask any camera question, any gear question they want. We'll get to you. There's only what, 3 of us in here, 4 of us in here watching right now. So if you ask, we will answer. Did have no problems. All right, sorry, go on.
so like the hard drive speeds. I'm pretty sure the MacBook is just running circles around these T7 as far as speeds, and I think that's a pretty big deal too. So like if I can have an onboard like a minimum 2 to 4 terabyte on those new MacBooks, or even the iMac, I would rather spend the money and get it there, as long as that they're actually showing that their drive speeds are that much faster than these like T7s externally. Um, I don't know. Maybe they'll make these external hard drives that much better too, but they also still do come at a premium, like those little Samsung Pro Extreme ones. Not Samsung. What do you call it? What is it? The SanDisk
The,
ones, the
oh,
little
the
like
SanDisk
clip-on ones.
Extreme Pros, yeah.
Like those are like to get like a 4 terabyte Extreme Pro, you're spending $500
Those are
anyway. So
expensive, man. Those are really pricey. I don't know. I've been going with the T7s just because the SanDisk ones are extremely pricey and they're not too much faster. But um, Hassan says he's been trying to sell his 2019 16-inch MacBook Pro, but now that the M1 Pros and Max have
yeah,
dropped, it's kind of hard.
the
I've
resale
heard
value of
people,
Macs just plummeted when I mean, compared to what they used to be. They used to be you could
right?
sell a Mac for almost brand new price, but
Well,
now that
somebody said that I could sell mine for $1,500 easily, because there's still people out there that are not willing to jump to the the new chips just quite yet,
yeah.
and they're desperate, and or maybe they like to run boot camp off it, so they're still willing to pay a decent price. Like this, I paid $2,100 for this Mac like a year and a half ago, and now
Mhm.
it's only worth $1,500 to use, which I don't know. I feel like that's about the nice, but yeah, I could trade this into Apple, and Apple would give me $1,100 for this
It
laptop. So
it does help that those new Pros are quite a bit more expensive. Like when they first put out those like MacBook Airs and stuff, that probably still were running circles around what your computer is now, at
right.
like less, at like what, $900 or something like that was the base on those things. That's when those other ones became hard to sell, because it was just kind of like, now it's not as good. But I mean,
So Patrick has a really good question, and I think we've answered this before on a stream, but we're gonna go for it. If you guys know us, you probably know what our answer is going to be on this one. But he says I am want a running. He wants a run and gun setup, and the first camera that he this will be the first camera that he personally owns, and he's leaning towards the ZVE 10. So, I mean,
I would,
you go ahead. You
yeah,
have
I
a
mean,
more
I've,
experience with
yeah,
it, so.
I like it. I think it's a great camera. I think it's a very similar camera to a 6400, a 6600. Um, the real big advantages to the camera is it has a flip out screen. If that's a big deal to you, I like the flip up screen still personally myself. Um, that was just me. The It does have active stabilization, which really only is a good thing for when you're filming other things. That active stabilization is not great for filming yourself because
No, it crops in way too much.
it does crop in like 40%. Now, and if you're using that like Sony 10 to 18 lens, that's not a big deal because it'll
Or
crop
that
into what
Tamron
looks
11 to
like,
20.
yeah, it'll like crop into what looks like a 16 millimeter, and then it does have pretty good stabilization. The thing with a lot of these active stabilizations on the Sony cameras, though, is that if you're still like stepping really hard, you're it's going to smooth out the like vibration, but you can see when you're still hit that step because it'll kind of blur for a split second. Like it'll blur like you'll get almost like a motion blur look to your image just for that 1-2 frames kind of thing, which isn't a big deal. I mean, the A7S III is the same way, but the like the price wise, they're cheaper than the A6400 unless you're looking for used. Like used market, you can probably find those cameras quite a bit less. Keep in
I'd be
mind that
very
there's
tempted to buy a 6400 used, in the right condition,
yeah. Now
over
keep in
a
mind there's
ZV-10.
no stabilization on those cameras, so you will get really good at holding it by hand and trying to be very good with that, or buying a gimbal, or like getting that Crane M3 gimbal, which is a nice setup for it. Otherwise, the 6500, if you can find one, which are actually pretty hard to find now,
I don't suggest the
they
6500 anymore.
they aren't as good as the autofocus isn't quite as good, but it does have IBIS, so it
Honestly, for me, it would be 6400 or upgrade to the A7C because, man, I love this A7C, and Sony is putting a halt on the production of the A7C this year. So
Mhm.
if whatever B&H has in stock is probably all they're going to be getting for quite a while, because it was one of the cameras that Sony said halt because of the chip
Yeah.
shortage going on, which will get me to Deontay's question really soon too. But I I don't know. I love the A7C. I love how small it is. It's pretty much the same size as those
Yeah.
APS-C cameras, and it's full frame. If you're looking to future proof yourself like you did the MacBook Pro, then I would consider getting an A7C if it's in your budget range. Then you can start buying full frame lenses, and then whenever that day comes and you're really interested in, maybe getting something with a little bit more beef, like the 60 frames per second or 120 in 4K or whatever, you could do that. I really like the A7C. Has better colors than the A7 III, has better autofocus than the A7 III. The limiting thing is the buttons, but I've been able to manage to get by. But
Stabilized.
it really boils down to budget, because yeah, you're going to be spending more on the body, and you're also going to be spending more on the lenses. So it really depends on what it is that you're looking for,
Mhm.
and what budget. Good night. And what budget you
But
have.
if you're looking for, I mean, if you're pretty hard set on that price range, though, the ZV-E10 is a great camera. The one big difference between I was going to get to is that between that and the A6400 also is that the A6400 is a little bit more controllable, being that it has all the buttons on the camera and has the like
The dial switch.
custom buttons and stuff. I like having the dials where you can just boom, switch something, switch to ISO. I like the autofocus and AEL switch, so I have set to make mine go into manual focus, or I can flip it down and then hit the button. I can change my white balance. So there's a little bit more user friendly on the fly. You can still do all of that on the ZV-10, but you have to go through the function menu or the menu to get to some of those. So it's a
Yeah,
little
and
bit
if
more
you're going
user friendly.
APS-C,
Yeah.
oh, go ahead.
It's a little more, the ZVE10 is definitely a little bit more user friendly, and it's a little bit more beginner friendly because you don't need to know what you're doing. You can kind of just figure it out pretty quickly. So, but I do like the camera. It's good. It's really light. It's definitely lighter than the A6400. And lenses, like you can get, like right now I'm shooting on the Sigma 16 lens, which is like a really nice 1.4 lens. So you can get that crazy blur background. It's really good at night. And it's
That's
only
what I
like
was gonna say, if you're gonna
$300.
get
So
APS-C, you can get a number of fantastic lenses, like I feel like that Sigma 16 1.4 is like a must.
mhm.
If you wanna do any sort of vlogging, either the Sony 10 to 18, uh, f4 lens, or I would beg to say, since it's cheaper and it has a lower aperture, that new Tamron 11 to 20, it's
Mhm.
2.8 lens.
The only reason
Um,
I'd say the 10 to 18 is because it's stabilized,
right,
which means you can use the standard, because the lens, the camera ZV-10 has no stabilization, has standard stabilization and active. What standard really means is it's using the lens's stabilization,
right.
which is actually really good on that 10 to 18. I was never, if you go back and check my channel, watch a couple of the, what's the IKEA, it's still sold out video. That whole thing was on a 10 to 18 with no, just in standard stabilization.
and
Um,
and and Patrick, he's got a ton of videos on his channel about not only the 6400, but and some of the
mhm.
APS-C lenses that are really great for that camera. But also a lot of he rented the ZV-10 a number of times, so he has a lot of videos on there with that. So if you have any more questions, feel free to answer.
Yeah.
Ask them away.
Also, good luck trying to find the ZVE10 right now because it's on, like, no, they're not. They stopped production for the moment because of the chip
That's the
shortage,
other tricky part.
and also they clear up the A7 IV production. So at the moment, that's on a back order, but you can still find some out there. I think there's a few left on Amazon
Deontay,
right
man, it's
now.
great to see you in the house. So this is a great question, Deontay. And do we think that the Sony will update the A7C in 2022? What would you like to see it updated to spec wise, and how much should it cost with the possibly new updates? This is a very loaded question, has a lot to diagnose here. But the first part of that question is, do I think they're going to release it in 2022? No. One, because the A7C is pretty much been a exact copy of the current A7 III model, which now I would assume they would just make a miniature A7 IV model in the same body. But with that being said, there
It's
is
too soon.
overheating
Yeah.
issues with the 4 already in the bigger body. So unless they could figure that out, well, I shouldn't say overheating issues, but there has been some reports of overheating just because it's a bigger sensor, 33 megapixels, 7K instead of 6K downsampled. So, but the reason I really say no in 2022 is, one, because the A7 IV just came out and they can't even keep that one in stock, and two, because they just discontinued the A7C Mark One because of chip shortages. So I don't see Sony coming out with very many new cameras in 22 at all, because they can't even keep up with the demand of the current cameras they have. They just dropped production of the A6100 and the A7 II, which honestly I don't know why they didn't drop the A7 II a long
Yeah.
time ago, because that camera is just
I mean, last year they just stopped production of the A6000. So, and that's, I didn't even know
right.
that was even an option to buy anymore other than used, but
Yeah, and they should probably should that one, because the 6100 was pretty much a better version of the A6000, but and
mhm.
now they stopped production on that one. So they're just, but I understand that one too, because now they have the ZV-10, which pretty much knocks all those lower end cameras out of the way. But
Mhm.
at the same time, I feel like there's going to be more cameras that are going to be halting production in 2022 till they can get a handle on this chip shortage, because I mean you can tell they're hurting with production because of all that, and you can't get right now an A7S3, you can't get a FX3, you can't get an A7 IV. They're all like on back order, seriously. So it's just a really hard time for Sony right now. They're
Mhm.
and not just Sony, everybody is having a hard time with this chip shortage thing. But I mean, it's brutal. So do I think they're coming out with A7C in this year? No.
One thing too I will add to that is that I think everyone assumes at this point that like Sony's putting out cameras like iPhone's putting out phones. But really what it was is that Sony had nothing for like 4 years, one or two things, and then they were like, here's 9 cameras. So now people are
Right.
thinking next year we're going to get 9 more cameras and next year we're going to get another. No, it's going to be you're going to be hearing that whole thing about like the A7 IV for the next 2 years. We're like, when's it going to come out? When's it finally going to come out? When's the A7S4 going to be here? When's the A7R5 going to be here? And a lot they did such good job with the cameras they just put out too that like honestly at this point I think wouldn't an A7R5 like screw up the A1? I think it would.
I feel like it would,
What
in
do
a
you do?
sense,
Like
yeah.
I mean right now the A1 like you already have the A7R4 and then the A1. You can't make much better on the R5 without going past the A1. And that's kind of the problem. Unless they
Well,
just
I mean,
skip all
yeah.
the 8K video and all that stuff, but and then price wise, it's like there's a big jump between those two cameras. So and then
No,
A7
there's rumors though
yeah.
they're gonna come out like a 100 megapixel sensor or something like that for the R5 or, but I mean, man, I don't know. I mean, all
I
these
kind of
megapixels are just
I
making
kind of
file sizes
wonder
super high.
I kind of just wonder if like the R line is going to be doomed at this point because of the A1. Like are they going to just make an A1 Mark II instead of an R5?
I mean, they could.
The only
And then
difference really being
have
is
the
the video
A1.
side of it. Yeah.
The only thing I don't understand about these companies is having so many different lines, and then you have the older camera models they don't sell as much. What they should do is like come out with a new version because something like the A1, they came out with an A1 Mark II. You could sell the A1 in the same price range as the the R series, and still
Mm-hmm.
get a fantastic stills camera, right? I mean, I don't know. I feel like if they get like this, that's what I think they should do with the C, right? They should because everybody's like, there's rumors about Sony needs to make an affordable full frame camera. Honestly, I feel like the A7C is their affordable full frame camera. They just need it to go down and to be a little bit more affordable than 1799.
Mm-hmm.
So my personal opinion is going back to Deontay's question is they should bump the A7C down to being like maybe $1,000 or something in that obtainable, cheap full frame
Yeah.
range, and then come out with a version 2 that is like pretty much, the A7 IV, and then they keep the same. The price ranges for that camera is pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe if it had this A7 IV specs, they might have to bump it up to $2,000 for the compact size. But then you start getting in that ballpark range, and it's kind of not worth it. But I don't know. I love the size of the A7C. I just wish it had a few more custom buttons. But other than that, I mean, so if I had an A7C Mark II, I would like a few more custom buttons. I think it'd be really nice. Somehow, the grip could be a little bit more substantial because, like, I feel like the grip is perfect when I have this cage from Small Rig on it that has like this little handle on it, and then if I didn't have to have a cage on it at all, that would be amazing. But I do like the cage having the grip makes it a little better. So I think
Mm-hmm.
if they improve the grip, they had maybe a few more custom buttons on it would be nice. If they didn't, it wouldn't be a game breaker. But I feel like it should have those same 2 custom buttons that the 6600 had on it.
Yeah.
And
For me,
this
the grip, even if it's not bigger, it needs to have that contour where it
right.
has the little ring finger spot. And like the A6400 and the ZVE10, they're both the same size grip, but one feels good and one doesn't.
I mean, honestly, I really like the 6600 grip. If they would
Mhm.
have mimicked the grip to be more like that, it would have been perfect.
Yeah, and it's not much
Um,
bigger, and then you get the Z battery too. So
well, this does have the Z battery as
those have
well.
the Z battery. Okay, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that was, it still has a Z battery, and it has one card slot. I think, there's really no,
That's
I
not going
can't
to change.
complain much. I can't complain much about this camera. Really, there's really not much I don't like about it. Just I would say just update it with the same autofocus as as the newer cameras. This thing just got an update actually where it does animal IF uh, in video as well. So that's pretty cool. I feel like the autofocus is great on this camera. Just update it with the newest one. Update the colors because the colors on this are very close to the A7S III, but they're not quite the same. But it's pretty
Mhm.
good. Um, I don't know. I mean, I feel like this can't this. Like I said, this camera is got everything going for it. Just keep updating it with the. It would be nice if it had 4K 60p. I would like higher like bit rates for the S and Q modes. But like if you do that, then you're kind of getting it in the same territory as the A7 IV and the
Yeah.
A7S III. And so I don't know. I feel like you got to keep this camera simple like it is now. Because I mainly use this for like photography on the go, and I do shoot some video with it, but it's mainly my portable photography camera, and I like
Mhm.
it. The EVF is kind of trashy, but I give up the EVF for the nice like the smaller size. So I don't know. I could
I would
keep
say
going
too,
on and
like
on.
the one thing that Sony keeps finding out is every time they try to put out a more budget-friendly camera, all they get is crap from everyone being like, "Oh, why didn't it get this? Why doesn't it have this? Why doesn't it have that? It should have 4K 60." Like,
Right.
and that's the problem is that they put out these things and then they don't do well because everyone bad talks them. And like the A7C should have done better than it did. Maybe they put it out too late. They shouldn't have put it out after the A7S III came out. And but
Yes.
it had a lot of stuff that was an improvement, but when you compare it to stuff that's now current that's better, it's never going to live up. And people assume that everything's supposed to live up, and that's you pay for that.
Right.
If you don't want to
And,
pay for
and,
that, then
and
you don't get it. So
I actually like. I feel like they could keep the A7C with the 24 megapixel sensor, and maybe add in this like 4K 60 from like maybe maybe have it have the same exact specs as the A7 IV, but with the 24 megapixel sensor instead of that 33, maybe, which would also help them keep the price down, which would help them maybe even keep the overheating down, and then you can still have some of these nicer features, but with us in a smaller body with a smaller sensor. And I feel like yes, the 33 megapixel sensor was kind of cool, but I feel like the 24 is that sweet spot where the sensors, it's got enough information on it. The file sizes are not super crazy. You start getting into 33, 40 megapixels, and your file sizes for photos start getting really crazy. I've been super happy with the A7S III for photography. So
my next video, Paul, which you've seen some clips of, I've shown you. All of those videos, the whole video is all on the A7S III, video and photo, and those photos, man, when especially when you like hit that enhanced resolution, I can crop way in on those things, and they still look great. So the megapixel
so
isn't always a big thing, and that's the big thing with the A7 IV is people are saying the 24 and the 33 is so subtly different that it's almost unnoticeable. So that
yeah,
camera for
Patrick, if
sure
you
is
have
more
any
of
questions, oh, sorry.
oh, so that camera definitely the A7 IV is definitely an upgrade on the video side, not so much on the photo side.
Yeah, Patrick, if you have any questions now that you got that big long answer from both of us, in maybe more detail, if like, or you have anything else that you're curious on, uh, like maybe if you give us a budget range, we could give you a better answer. But that was kind of our. But if you need any more details, just ask in the chat. We'll get back to you. Um, New menus, yes, that's the thing. Every single camera from now on should have is the new menus because it really is I love the new menus. 4K 60
I'm okay
crop
with
and a
either of them.
bit better viewfinder. I'd be happy. Yeah, I mean
I've
viewfinder.
been using Sony's for long enough to where honestly, like I still find stuff better in the old menu than I do the new menu, but that is also because the A7S III has so much stuff in that menu. Like you go to one thing and there's like 20 pages in the one thing. You're like, holy cow, like I can't find half the stuff because there's so much more in that menu system than some of the other ones. So I would like to see them have like a tab where you could minimize all the like pro stuff that you don't use. So that I mean, I know you can go to like the program everything to my menu.
It's called the My Menu, man.
But I'd like to see something where it's a little bit more easy to find, like to find the one things you're looking for instead of having to dig through huge menu.
For me, I've been able to get the function menu between the function menu and the my menu. And all the buttons on the cameras. I've been able to pretty much get everything I need. So I need to go back. There's some I copied the settings off Kyle's camera at Ace and S3 when I was with him in Minnesota, and I haven't changed it yet. And some of the settings I still haven't gotten used to it yet. So I'm about to have to go back and retweak some things because
Yeah.
there's just I don't know. Everybody has their own way of running. Their
I've changed
cameras.
some things around on mine too. Like, I had that gamma assist thing on mine since I run S-Log3 all the time. When you went into the photo playback, you would either see your videos in gamma assist, but then you get to a photo and it would just look awful because it's like throwing gamma assist on top of a non-log footage or photo. So I finally figured out how to like change that button to be something else in the like playback menu. So that's nice. But
So Patrick, I'm curious.
one thing that bugs me, I just want to get this off my chest. One thing that bugs me
Yeah,
is when you put your photo to animal eye and then
yeah,
you switch to video, it sticks into what that, you know how like normally when you switch to the photo setting of video, everything defaults back to the other, all the settings you have for photo or video.
yeah.
That's a thing that also should be on all the A7C and every Sony camera moving forward. But for whatever reason, when you put animal eye tracking in photo and switch to video, that stays. But then
Hmm.
my quick button in video isn't that. Then it's my gamma assist button. So then I have to go back to photo, switch it to human, then go back to video. And they need to fix that. They need to fix that when you switch to video, those custom buttons go away.
I really
That's
hope
something.
that they switch a lot of things. I hope they add firmware updates, a lot of features that were on the A7 IV into the A7 S3 that should be there because it's a better camera, but we'll see.
Mhm.
Um, Patrick, I'm curious, what do you shoot on now for camera? Are you just using your phone? Because I know that you do a lot of videos on YouTube, so I was just curious what you shoot on right now. So yeah, I don't know. It's the cameras, man. They're just it's gonna be a crazy year in 2022 because of the chip shortage, and I think it'll be very interesting to see how all companies move forward. But yeah, I think we're gonna start seeing a little bit of a slowdown and a more focus on lenses this year than anything, just because of the chip
Mhm.
shortage. But only time will tell. And then
Well,
and then you have
that's what Sony did last time too when there was that pause between camera bodies coming out. They really went hardcore with the lenses, and now they're doing it again, I think, because they're just starting to put out that 1.2 lens and the 50 and the
and now they're putting I think they're going back now and doing we're definitely probably going to see a 24-70 Mark II this year, kind of like they revised that 70-200. And then there's supposed to be like a new 85 millimeter coming out. So
there's a
like
rumored 16 millimeter, which I'm excited about. Just 16, like a 16 prime.
which would be
I
really
think that would be cool.
cool because it'll probably be very similar size to like the 24 millimeter or the 14 millimeter, but you can actually put filters on it, unlike the
Yeah.
14 millimeter.
I'm
So
hopefully the 14 would be a cool lens, but that bubble convex end just ruins it. Like if
yeah,
you really want to up your shutter speed, and everyone says, "Oh, you hardly notice," and it's like I don't know, I notice it when you watch videos, but it depends on the content, I guess. When you're seeing Chris Brockhurst do some vlogging, yeah, who cares if it doesn't have the right motion blur? But if it's, I don't know, I like indie filters. That's just me. So
and then what gear? So I'm gonna say this. I'll ask the question and then I'll let you think about it, and I'll go on, and then you can, when I'm done, you can cut me off, whatever. What gear are you excited for in 2022? Or what gear are you looking to purchase in 2022? For me, I just got all these, new microphones from Rode. I got the NTG5. I got this Procaster, and then I got the NTG video mic. And obviously with the NTG5, I need XLR, and I don't want to sync it. So I actually was able to find someone that was selling a Sony K3M without the microphone because, well, he was originally selling it with the microphone, and then when I told him that I don't really need the microphone, what I was like, I needed to get it because I needed to have an NTG5. And he's like, well, if you want it without the microphone, I have an FX3 that has the audio handles, which is why I'm selling my K3M. Not that I didn't like it, I have the audio handle now from the FX3. I don't need two of the same thing. He's like, but I don't have, it didn't come with a mic, so I prefer to have the mic. And if you don't want the mic, I'll sell it for you for cheaper. I'm like, I will take it. So he sold it to me for $300. He shipped it over to me for $300, which I thought was a really good deal for a pretty much new K3M without the microphone. So I've been starting to use it. I'm actually using it right now. So this microphone is going up. I have the K3M on my A7C because the A7C has that digital hot shoe, and I am doing the USB-C into my camera, into my computer, and through the software, through just the USB streaming function that they just added, the new firmware update on the A7C, I'm able to use send the streaming straight out the USB-C, and it sends the audio too. So I'm going straight into my K3M, and then everything's all one USB-C cable. So I don't even have to go into an audio interface, and that's really awesome. I really like this K3M, and it's cool that I can use it on my A7C, and if I put it on my A7S3, then I can record 4-channel audio, or 3 different channels of audio. But there's I don't know how they call it 4 because they think the 1/8-inch jack they consider it two channels, two stereo, like a stereo channel, so they say 4, but really the 2 XLRs and then the 1/8-inch jack, and I can record all those simultaneously with their own separate audio channel into the A7S3 and 24-bit, and it just bakes it all into the video file, and then when I get it into the editor, you can see all the separate channels, which is just really awesome. I haven't actually tested that feature out yet fully. They used to have issues with like the video editing software reading those files, but I believe they fixed it. We'll see. But I really like it. So that was my big purchase for the end of this year, and next year I don't really have a lot of like huge. I would love to get a Rodecaster Pro, but I don't really need it, but it'd be cool. And
So,
my wife is
yeah, I mean,
listening to me right now.
so looking at like new gear, I mean, like me and obviously we're both like tech channels, so we're going to be seeing new products, and you want to get your hands on all those new products so you can show them on your channel, experience them for yourself, all that kind of stuff. So sometimes that's feasible when you actually have companies that like sending stuff. Sometimes you have to spend all your money to buy said stuff and then try to do reviews and whatever, and maybe sell it or keep it. Who knows? But I mean, the stuff I feel like I'm most excited for, being that I already have everything that I kind of feel like I've needed. I've felt that way for a couple of years, anyways. Even, but I would like to see some more options for lenses. That'd be fun. If I can afford it, and if it came reality, I would like to have a second like A7 IV. I don't need it, but it would be nice to have one. And I don't really want to get rid of my APS-C cameras because I feel like there's a market on my channel for people who want
Right.
to learn about those cameras, and I don't want to like not have them anymore. So I've seen other channels do that where they stop doing all APS-C stuff, and I think it hurts their channel, hurted their channel a little bit. But I think it's these cameras are great, and like I'm filming on it right now. And granted, like the resolution that you guys are seeing probably doesn't look great because I know my upload speed sucks on my side at my house. But so what I see in my computer, this thing's crystal clear. But when it goes up
Right.
onto YouTube, it's definitely not. It sometimes looks terrible, but that's the
Plus, we're only
upload
paying for
speed.
720, so
Yeah. So, but check out other videos. You'll see what I'm talking about on my channel. But I like the APS-C line, and I think it's a good line that people actually can afford and pay for and use. So I'm not in any way like ready to move away from APS-C stuff, because I think that is I don't know, it's more relatable to a lot of people that watch my channel to keep these cameras and showcase how to use these things and new products that come with them. And stuff like that. So having two full frame camera bodies, maybe not necessarily the thing that I'm going to do, but we'll see. I'd love to get my hands on an A7C if that became a reality, but once again, it would have to be a good price for me to move away from stuff. So the cool thing with that camera is that if you put things like your Sigma 16 and all the
Yes.
crop body lenses, it for all purposes necessary, it still will look like an APS-C camera. So
Yes, so I could still review a lot of those lenses and still get away with it, and it'll be pretty good. And it's, I mean, and the cool thing about the A7C is it not only can do it, but it also feels like normal. Like, you know, those it's APS-C size body, so it's not like doesn't the small lenses don't make the camera look like, you know, oh my gosh, you're putting a big, you know, this tiny lenses on this big camera or anything. It looks all normal. It's like that. So, I mean, if I didn't say, hey, I'm shooting on an A7C right now, you know, if you saw me with it, you wouldn't think you could. Oh, he probably has like a 6400 or something, you know. So
yeah, I mean, like
I don't know.
I guess the gear that I'm looking forward to is stuff that is more functional for me this year. More so than just like wow factor or pizzazz or just like it's fun to own the A7S3. It's a stupid, ridiculously over the top camera that probably don't need, but I love it. So it's and you can make it look
You
good.
do
I'm
both.
still learning, and the thing is that I'm still learning like S-Log3 and color grading is a tricky thing, and sometimes you nail it and sometimes you don't. And that's for me. I
Have
want
you-
to get things that make me get better footage in the long run. So like
I want to try the Phantom LUTs.
I like them.
Yeah.
I personally like more contrasty, more saturated things that are a little like some of the Phantom LUTs to get that RE look. You want slightly desaturated. You want to kind of change your yellow shift, and they're a little bit more less contrasty, which is a really cool look for a lot of people. And I was talking to Cody Blue about this last night too.
Oh, I
He
saw his
created
post that he's you know,
Yeah, so
enjoying that new A74.
he actually just did that in post, doing it himself. He didn't use any conversion LUT or anything like that. And he goes, "It's probably not right." And he goes, "I don't really know what happens when you don't convert S-Log3 into Rec 709." But he goes, "I really wanted that. Like he wanted that like Porta 800 look to his thing." So I'm really gonna be excited to see what he can do with that 10-bit camera. So
Well,
um,
you know, and it's really funny because, you know, he did not jump to the A7S3. He has been shooting on the A7 III for years and years and years, and he f-
and his stuff looks better than most people's out there with
right, and
better
it
cameras.
looks
Yeah.
amazing. So, like, learn. It's more about learning your camera and
Mhm.
just getting good at using it than having the latest and greatest a lot of times.
It's
I
funny
mean,
to
it's
see him
still
complain about
fun.
that flip screen, like, immediately, though. He's like, "It's in the
Oh
way
yeah,
for the camera strap. I'm gonna get used to it," but it's and
right.
honestly, when you watch these people use flip screens for the first time who got really good at using the A7 III, they're doing this the whole time, like, "Hey, guys, we're hanging out here. I'm staring at the screen. I'm not looking at the lens." And it's funny because you can immediately tell, like, well, they clearly were using an A7 III before, because like, when you don't have a screen to look at, you
Right, you're just like
instinctively look at the lens.
right.
And you don't even realize it. Like today, I was out filming a thing, and I'm talking to the lens, but then I know I'm about to do something where I need to like see what it looks like, and then I just instinctively look at the screen. And here I'm going to edit it, and I'm like, God, I'm staring at the screen again. Like so, and that's why I really like the flip up screen on the A6400 because like right now I'm staring right at the screen on the A6400, and it still looks relatively like I'm looking at the lens. That's why I've always liked
I think
that.
you do
So.
look like it, so I wouldn't know. I think what Hassan said is a good point. You know, there's still a number of people who are completely happy with the APS-C. They just want some of these new full frame features that they've been putting out, and I think this. I think this is the year. I think if Sony comes out with any camera this year, that if they come out with a new camera and they can keep up with the demand or figure it out, they're going to come out with a new APS-C high end camera this year that will
It'll be
replace
like
the A6600.
they were planning on it last year, but it didn't come out. They have a patent. They had a patent for it. They just never released it. So there is still two cameras that weren't released that they put a patent on last year. So
Right.
And one of them, I still think one of them, I was gonna say it earlier, but I think I forgot about when you were talking. Sony did have a plan to put out a budget full frame camera called the A5. It never
Yes.
made production, and I don't know if that's the one full frame patent that they had still, but it was supposed to be kind of a dumbed down A7 III, but in a price range that was like comparable to an APS-C camera. So it was gonna be like a $1,200, $1,300 full frame camera. So I don't know what happened with that, if they're still planning on that, or if maybe the A7C did well enough to where they just said we're not going to put that out. I don't know, but
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I said, I feel like the A7C is great, and now that they have all these new cameras with new features in it, it's almost like this camera, the A7C, should be your budget, your A5. Just drop the price of the A7C, come out with the A7C Mark II, and be done with it. But
and the thing is
I
with
don't know.
Sony's, they all have to fit into those price ranges. The
Right.
camera might be better than the one above it price wise, but they still have to have it fit. And they're not going to put on an A6700 or whatever they might call it more expensive than the A7C. They're not going to do that.
Right.
So they have to find a way how to make that fit into their marketing scheme. And honestly, I think they need to let these cameras get old that they just put out before they start putting out replacements or upgrades for some of the other ones. So I think it could be a while. And, having a year of down production is going to probably make that easier for them to make that decision. So, but honestly, if you're looking to get from APS-C camera up to a full frame, if you got the money, just go for it. You got nothing to lose. You're going to, at best, have a camera that might not look much different than your old one, or you might have all these features that you can make use of and make it look better. So it's like having like jumping right away to A7S III definitely did not make any of my stuff look any better than my A6400, but it gave me better options to get better. And that's like to remaster that camera. So I always say, like, don't usually upgrade unless you need to upgrade out of a camera. If that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense to me. I mean, no need to upgrade if you don't, think. The biggest reason for me to upgrade would be to improve workflow. So, if there's a feature that just, like, you're on an older A7 II or something like that, and they got this, now the A7 IV has, way better autofocus and the better battery of the A7 II. That makes way more sense. Having a bigger battery, having way better autofocus. It's harder to justify going into like from an A7 III to like an A7 IV, so to speak. Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, so the colors, and okay, there's a little bit better autofocus. I mean, the A7 III was no slouch with autofocus, but I don't know. So it's
It was
one
one
of
of the
those
best. It was one of the best cameras in autofocus they ever made. Until, I mean, like the A7 III, if they would have put a flip screen on it, it would have killed Canon sales. That was the only thing that people didn't switch to, is because they didn't like the flip. It wasn't even a flip up screen. It was an angle screen. If they would have
right.
made that screen viewable, no one would have bought any of the Canon EOS Rs. I mean, that was hands down a better camera. It's just Sony screwed up and they didn't put the right screen on it. I don't know. But I mean, like, you're going to look at Cody Blue's videos coming out probably in the next week or two. I don't think they're going to look much better than his old stuff at right away, because he had mastered that camera.
Yeah.
He had custom settings. He had custom saturation and black levels. He had that thing inside and out so modified that it looked better than anyone else's camera out of the box. So until he has something figured out with this new one, which is going to take him probably a while, like, it's crazy to think like you can still make an old camera just blow away some of these new ones if you know how to use them completely the way you should, and like have custom settings and custom black levels and contrast levels and detail and stuff. And he really did that, and he put out his own like LUTs based off of camera settings that you had to
Right.
switch to his stuff. So that channel's always blown me away how good he's made stuff look, and it's just getting better.
And I've said
Like
it
I said,
before,
I
man,
mean,
camera bodies are not everything. Invest in your lenses. Lenses will move with you as you get new camera bodies. And
unless you own
I
Canon.
mean, make sure you have good audio, because audio is way more important than your video. So if you're, it's okay to be using these APS-C cameras. Just invest in make sure you have good microphones, make sure your lighting is great, because all these things, when you do decide to finally get a new camera body, is going to make the worlds of a difference than just going out and buying a new camera body. So I don't know. There's the problem is there's just way too many things to buy in the video world, and it's just like it's like trying to go through a large checklist and saying, all right, got that, now I'm saving up for this, okay, got that now, and then if you spend all your money trying to just get the new latest and greatest camera, then you keep not being able to check off a lot of those other boxes that you kind of need to check off. So
one thing that I'm looking forward to, Paul, too, and this is something that might be like a day or two early to say, but like one thing I'm kind of looking forward to, I'm going to start doing starting next week, is Cuts is putting out a thing, like Cuts, like the clothing company. They're going to spend a whole month this year doing more of a challenge that's kind of more for like mental health and physical well-being and stuff like that, instead of like merch drops and new clothes drops and stuff. So I had our meeting today about that, our ambassador meeting, and they kind of discussed how it's going to work, and it seems really cool. And like right now, I've been so burnt out at being at the hospital and pharmacy and doing all these COVID vaccines and everything like that. It's going to be a nice change for me. And sometimes it's go get all the gear and get excited for next year, but I think otherwise slow down a little bit and take some mental breaks. And it's gonna be fun seeing this one. It's gonna be a cool little personal challenge that I'm gonna get into this next month, of like, I don't know, little things you can do, like taking 15-minute walks or cold showers, and I don't know. It's gonna be fun.
cold showers,
Random stuff that, like maybe 15 minutes a day instead of scrolling, maybe do some sit-ups or something. Just little personal things that you can do. And they're going to send out like a list every day of the things that you should do or tasks that you can do, with apparently like videos, like of a guide or something like that, telling you what to do and or how to do it, whatever. And it sounds fun. Like when I was expecting, they were going to put out some new clothing line again for spring or something like that, but hearing that they're going to take hearing a company being like, we're not going to do a big merch or a big clothing sale thing this month. We're going to actually do like personal, mental, get people like
right.
in a good spot. And I'm like, that's awesome that they did that. So I'm excited for that. I don't know I don't remember what they're calling it, but you'll see some stuff probably next month for me talking about little personal challenges and stuff. So I won't be doing daily things on my channel or anything like that, but it'll be fun. I'm excited for that, because I
Go out
think
there and get healthy in the new year.
I need a good mental break from this whole craziness at work all the time. So
yeah, your job can be very stressful at times. I'm definitely not in that boat, but yeah, I mean, I'm just gonna be excited to be able to move around a little bit more in the coming weeks. So hopefully I can get more out of the house and start making videos again. But I think this week and next week, really gonna start studying for my Part 107, and I'm gonna try to schedule that test 2 weeks from now. The last week off I have off work, so we will see what happens with that.
yeah.
Whew,
You know what I need? You know what I need to do, Paul?
What's that?
I really need to get the video done for this thing too.
That
I
was
started
a
doing
popular video that we did on our stream, so you should definitely do that.
Yeah. It's 5 degrees right now in Minnesota, so I had this awesome video planned with the ZV-1, doing some inner tubing down a hill using this, and then like filming other people inner tubing. And then whatever, someone we happen to know put that video out with the exact thing that I wanted to do. So now I'm kind of going backwards and rethinking that whole video over. So, but it's also really tough to want to go outside right now in Minnesota because it is super cold right now.
Was it Brockhurst?
Chris Brockhurst did an inner tubing crane M3 video, and I'm just like,
it wasn't. I'm not going
to do his video. I'm not going to do his video. It would have been a different video because he does different music and different energy levels, but
It was not the same.
It's so when you get snow and it's cold outside, my thought is like, well, clearly we're gonna go inner tubing, snowboarding, skiing, whatever, and I'm gonna use this thing for that. So we're gonna think something else because I don't know. It's tough to go out and film in Minnesota in the winter, and that's why a lot of Canadians, you know, YouTubers also sit inside their studios during the winter. It's tough. Not everyone wants to go
Tough.
outside, so you can't go outside in your 80-degree weather, Paul. Like,
I know. It's right now the weather is terrible. I'm actually going for mile walks every day because it feels great and it's not super hot. And anyway,
I heard
I'm gonna be
someone.
really sad when I gotta take down this tree right here. I mean, I like
Are
it in my
those
background.
are those aperture Christmas lights? I'm kidding. They should do
It's
that.
their 24 millimeter 1.4 beautiful bokeh Christmas lights.
No, I do have to get out here though, and that's especially when Andrew's got school off and get this thing done. But update, guys, because I have used this a little bit. The update with this thing is I really, really am liking this gimbal. I before when we did that other stream, Paul, I didn't realize that you had to turn the motors to high when you put on like full frame cameras and
Yes.
big lenses. That made all the difference. I could balance that 28 to 200. I zoomed it all the way out, and it lasted like a minute before it tipped.
Oh, okay. Because I
It
saw your
did
video
tip.
and it looked like you did it perfectly fine, but
Yeah, it did. The second you put any kind of jarring motion to it, it finally went and beeped. But that also is a lens that's like this long when it's like out
right.
all the way. So yeah, I didn't realize it had a low, medium, and high, and it was really easy to set that control. And then you're like, I didn't even need to balance the damn thing. When I turned it off, it was just hanging down. And then it turned on and it worked just fine. So bouncing this camera, I learned that's how I figured it out is when I put this thing on there, it shook and vibrated. And I'm like, it's perfectly balanced. I don't know why it's doing this. And
Because you had to put in
went into
low.
the settings and I put it to low and it worked fine. So this thing makes the ZV-1 and the ZV-E10 so good looking. And it's like, it's kind of an expensive gimbal, but it's small and it fits in your bag, which is why I really like that thing. And I'm going to start using that more than my Weeble S because it's can fit in my damn bag. The Weeble
Yeah,
S does not fit in
I
bags
feel
well.
you,
So
Hassan. Over here in Florida, it's about the same, you know. So
is
um
84 Fahrenheit where I'm down. Is he in Australia?
yeah, mate.
Is that what it is?
Good
Yeah, I
day.
suppose it's
Yes.
summer down there.
Right.
Someone, one of my friends from Florida, was complaining the other day how his jeans were too sweaty in Florida, and I was just like, "You son of a!" I went outside for 6 minutes today, and my hands were frozen, and I'm like, "I got to get in the car." I'm at that point where like 10 more minutes outside, and I could get frostbite. It was not good.
3 more years, bro. Just
I
3 more
know.
years.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully.
We'll see. Yeah, so um Australia, it's summer here. Yep. So yeah, I forgot what I was gonna say. Dang it. I hate when that happens.
There's gonna be lots of
Um,
gear coming out. There's gonna be a lot of third-party gear coming out that's going to be there's gonna be some sweet aftermarket gear for a lot of these new cameras and lenses and stuff that come out. And I think all the lens companies are gonna have some fun lenses in the next year or two. I'm
okay,
excited
that's
about
what.
that.
Okay, that reminded me. You said lenses, and I don't remember what I was going to ask. So I noticed that Jake Sloan has moved away from using his 28 to 75 Tamron, and is now, I thought was very interesting, which I guess kind of makes sense for him because he does a lot of outdoor stuff. So the F4 doesn't really make a big difference to him, but he switched to the 24 to 105 lens as his main zoom, and then he has the 24 millimeter 1.4 for like in the studio headshots, stuff like that. But his everyday carry now is a 24 to 105, and then he still has that Tamron 17 to 28 if he needs something really wide. And that's what he's been using for most. Well, have you ever used that 24 to 105 lens?
Mm-hmm. It's a sweet lens and it's stabilized. That's the biggest thing about that
Right.
lens. So if you're pairing it with the active stabilization on the A7S III, you're getting both the lens and the camera if you choose. Otherwise, you can just go to standard and keep it just the lens. But yeah, if you don't mind that f4, if you're doing a lot of outdoor stuff, like you're not sitting down at 1.8 or 2.8 a lot. You can if you're running like an ND9 filter, but you got to remember when you run those ND filters like that, you're starting to get some weird looks in the sky sometimes, depending on which angle you're, where the sun is compared to where you're filming, and it shows. And I think for him, like you're a long ways away from mountains, and you're pointing it at stuff in Alaska that's a ways away from you, so you don't need that low aperture for stuff
Right.
because it's not really getting depth of field when things are far away, anyways.
Right. And then you kind of want them to be in focus when you're shooting something that beautiful, right? So
And from what I heard from people too, is that unless it's like a 1.4, that 2.8 lens, they said they don't care if it's 2.8 or 4. So like having like the extent of a 28 or 24 to 70 G Master, Sigma, whatever lens you're using,
right.
but being stabilized and have a little bit further of a zoom at less money. I think keep that in mind. It's only like $1,000 lens.
Right.
That's a nice lens, and it's an f4. I think it's very comparable to that like 18 to 105 I have. That's my favorite lens on crop body cameras by far too. So
Desmond Wong, man, what's up, dude? You made it through your Vlogmas. So awesome, dude. And you are growing, man. You are about to surpass me, which is no shocker because I don't know, you don't, your videos aren't super complicated, but you're very great at just talking to the camera and nailing out a lot of these points, and somehow, and just you make it very interesting. So I really been enjoying your videos. So, and he just recently got that Crane M3 too, so he's been loving that one as well. So he asked about the Tamron. I would love to have my hands on that 35 to 150, and I don't know. For me, I've always been about, and I said the same thing in the video where I got to use Kyle's 24 to 70 Sigma. That lens is beautiful. That lens is amazing, and I love the fact that he can get that 24 millimeter range in it. But for me, it's so heavy. I prefer lenses that are a little bit lighter because I do go to like theme parks, and I do like to travel with my lenses. So having that lighter 28 to 75 Tamron has been great. I feel like having that 35 to 150, I feel like I could do like everything with that lens and the Tamron 17 to 28, and then have my 24 millimeter prime and be completely content with pretty much everything. I think the only thing I might want in the future would be like a prime wide angle lens for a real estate or something like that, like a 14 or a 16 or something. But that lens could do every f2. Yeah, the only thing about that lens is it's supposed to be a beast, like heavy. Now I
it's
think
heavy. It's heavier than the Sigma 2470. If you look at that lens, it looks like it's built by Sigma. Like
I mean, the build quality
the
is
shape and
fantastic.
like the grip, the buttons, like everything on it looks like a Sigma lens, which is bizarre. I don't think Sigma had anything to do with it, but it is heavier than the Sigma 2470, and a lot of people say that lens is too heavy. So
Desmond, I really appreciate it, and yes, when we get this camera creator camp, I keep saying camera camp, creator camp stream branded, you're probably going to be one of the first people that we reach out to. Oh yeah, here we go. The first people we reach out to have on as one of our guests. I definitely want to have you on the stream as a guest. Love to dig more and ask you some more questions, just get to know you a little bit more level on that level. But yeah, we are, I think Kyle and I talked about it again. We're trying to finalize the intro, and I've got to just figure out the branding. We got the color scheme pretty much based on that logo that we just showed, but I just got to go through and make all the stream branding and make everything look pretty and figure out what font we're going to use and all that jazz. So
I think Paul, what we need to do is I need to finish all these damn videos that are backlogged so that I can actually spend more time on it too. So you can blame me for that.
Well, it's okay. We just I don't know. It's not easy rebranding everything from scratch,
Mhm.
and we're so picky on what we want. We want everything to be
Well,
perfect.
I wanted a summer camp, like a retro 70s summer camp vibe. The problem is I can't go outside right now and film a 70s retro camp when it's snowing. It doesn't quite work.
Yeah,
So
it's like you'd like fly to Florida or something.
I've been literally going through story blocks looking for a lot of fun stuff. The problem, Paul, is story blocks raised their prices a few months ago. So
Really?
if you want to pay for the full year subscription, it's maybe cheaper than what it used to be. If you want to do month by month, it's like $50 a month now. So
A lot of people are
uh,
doing that. They're making their like, hey, pay us up front a year, and
yeah,
I
and maybe
I
maybe
just
that's
got
how they force
Epidemic.
that.
Yeah, I mean, I just got Epidemic because so that we could both have the same share our music and not have to worry too much. Plus, I
Is there
love the 80s. I love the 80s music from Epidemic. There's nothing better. Because I've been using
is
Artlist
there
for the last year.
is the song on our intro from Epidemic? Okay, I was gonna say, I'm like, hopefully it is, because otherwise you're gonna get claimed on it now.
Well, you made a we made a playlist of stuff,
No.
and a lot of those like retro-y like "Da-na-na-na," like those like
I
really
just wanted
goofy.
like Wet Hot American Summer or Meatballs or all the classic 70s summer camp movies, which, let's face it, really only ever came out back in the 70s. So unless they were
Right.
horror movies, then they were in the 80s and 90s. So there's just something fun about that. So that's, I don't know, geeky. It's all just for fun. I mean, we're not, maybe at some point, if this thing ever turned into be a fun live stream with Creator Camp, we could afford to get some sponsors and make an actual summer camp. That would be fun. But first things first. So
First
we'll
things
get there.
first.
Yeah. But let me
Then
get
we
all
gotta
these
get
stupid
Rode to
videos done and I
sponsor it.
can
Come on,
try.
Rode, sponsor this. Get us nice boom
um,
arms like this one.
I would say, Desmond, I didn't try the 35 to 150. I've seen a lot of videos on it. I've been watching a lot of Chris Brocker's stuff on it. It does seem really fun. Honestly, like 150 is not, to me, I feel like 150 is not far enough out and 35 is maybe too far out. I don't know. I like having more wider. I really wish that, like, the video I'm putting out next is that 28 to 200 Tamron video. I love everything about that lens other than the fact that it goes from a 2.8 to a 5.6 over that range, and it's like almost immediate too. Like it goes from like 28 to
Right.
31,
It's
and
only
then it's
2.8 for like 28 millimeters. I think up to 30 millimeters, and then it just
yeah.
yeah.
But it's like if you're using like an auto ISO and you have like an exposure compensation, then that's fine because you can just zoom out and it'll compensate quickly. But I use a lot of manual settings for everything. I usually lock all my settings in place when I start filming. So when you zoom that thing out, it gets darker, and that's kind of it's not the greatest of a video lens for me, but that photography lens, that lens is awesome. And that's something that Paul showed me because he has that lens too. And there's something pretty awesome about having a 28 wide angle lens and a 200 millimeter zoom lens.
I mean, like I said, my wife. The reason why I bought that lens is because my wife said, "I want a lens that zooms a lot, and I want to be, I don't want to swap lenses all the time." Like, as we were swapping from my Tamron 28 to 75, and then she would use that lens, and I just want more zoom. I'm like, well, that's as much as you're gonna get. So we got. She really does enjoy shooting on that 28 to 200, and she could just shoot on that all day and be perfectly fine. Me, I really like 24 millimeters. I just and then and I like a lot of the wide. I like shooting a lot of landscapes as well, so I like getting the really wide stuff. But it's doable on the 28. But I wish it was a tad bit wider. But
It should
yes,
be,
I think it's a great.
it should, honestly, if this thing would be perfect if it was a little bit more of a fixed aperture and it was 24 to 240. I think that would be absolutely perfect for this. 24 to 240.
You sound like you're, but I feel like if the lens was 24 to 240, then it would be like the size of that 35 to 150.
I don't know. This thing isn't much bigger than the what is like this 28 to 70. And it's
No, it's
pretty
not.
darn light.
They're
Zooms
the
out.
same size. They are. They're
It does
identical.
zoom out. It does get quite, you know,
It goes out further a little bit, but it
Yeah.
as far as like when it's compact like that, it's pretty much the same size as this
You know what I don't like about
2075.
the Tamron lenses though is the finish they put on these things. Like I just had it rub up against something in the bag, and look what it did to the lens. It got all
Yeah,
shiny. So now I gotta buy a
they
damn skin for this thing just to keep it like looking right.
well they fixed I'm pretty sure they fixed that in the new version. So the new version, the version 2 of the 28-75 is it's the same sort of build quality as the 35 to 150. So they're all
Okay.
I think they finally figured out how to keep the lenses plasticky build, but feeling like they're high quality metal. I don't know.
Hmm.
So yeah,
This thing hasn't actually came off this camera yet, Paul. Is that weird?
I mean, I think it's a great lens, and if it's great for video as long as you're not moving the focal ranges around too
No.
much. You know,
I
because
mean,
like
what I definitely did when I did one of the scenes where I did zoom in and zoom out, instead of doing the exposure comp, I just put it to 5.6 at the beginning to begin with. That way, if you start at 5.6 all the way wide and zoom in, it doesn't change. And I just compensated my ISO,
yeah,
and I was like, I was doing a funny Wes Anderson thing where you're zoomed in on me, and then it zooms all the way back out, and you see everything all of a sudden. So I didn't
yeah.
want that like dark and doing like that. The 5.6 is fine because there's no depth of field anyways when you're trying to do that kind of shot. So
2022 is the year of mega zooms. I agree, and I honestly I think 2022 is just the year in lenses period because of the chip shortages. So I feel
mhm.
like, but yeah, Tamron has been really going to town on mega zooms. I hope that Tamron can make a few more mega zooms in various ranges so everybody has like a crazy option. Yeah, and once you get down to like f2 zooms, or it's like, okay, I could live with f2 and not have any primes at that point. I mean, I feel like,
Mhm.
maybe have a few primes that are 1.4, like this 24 millimeter 1.4, and then just go to town with f2 zoom. I don't know. If they could pull off like a 24 to, even if they could pull
240.
off a 24 to 200, that it's the same size as that lens somehow
Mhm.
with a more constant aperture, I would be
Yeah. Well,
complete
the
game
nice thing
for it.
about that lens is you can set that thing to 2.8 at its widest, and it'll stay 2.8. But
Right.
also the little bit of difference between 2 and 2.8 is not. I mean, it's going to get a little darker, but it's what 2 stops. So I mean, it's not that much. Well, 1 stop actually depends on the camera, I guess. But yeah.
Oh, here we go. Hassan, I answered this earlier, but maybe you weren't in yet. So right now, the past, ever since I got this microphone, I've been using the Scarlett 2i2 interface. So yeah, this mic sounds fantastic. Like for $230, I feel like it's definitely up there on par with the Shure SM7B. And the only thing I feel like this mic has that's against this mic, I guess, so to speak, versus that microphone is how big it is. Like the SM7, I like how small the SM7B is, but this thing sounds really, really good. Um, and right now, I'm actually running it into the Sony K3M, and I'm running the K3M on top of the A7C. This microphone is going into the K3M input 1 with the phantom power, all levels set. It's sending a digital signal to the A7C, and then I have just one USB-C cable going into my computer, and I'm doing USB streaming out this camera, and it's the streaming software. It shows, for video it shows my A7C, and for audio it shows the A7C, and I'm just using that and going straight out
Mhm.
from the camera. It's pretty incredible. But yeah, the K3, I was doing the K3M tonight because it's easy, and 2, I just was wanting to try it versus my, normally I would just be going in my Scarlett 2i2 interface, just make it cheaper. But yeah, right now I'm doing the K3M, and I mean,
Mhm.
it sounds good. Sounds good.
Keep
I'm
in mind
glad
though,
you're
so the benefit that you're doing, Paul, versus what I'm using Sony Imaging Edge to use
right.
my camera as a webcam. I can't use the audio from the camera, unfortunately. You have to go into a separate interface. But once you have the new version of the firmware, you can set your camera to USB streaming as a mode. Then you
Yep.
can use the audio from the camera. So that's what you're doing.
Yep, that's what I'm doing. So and they just added that feature to the A7C in the new firmware update. So I've been testing it, and I really liked it. I don't know,
Mhm.
and and I like that you can now like that you can also add audio too. So now a lot of people could just plug everything into their audio jack of their whatever camera. They don't have even have to have a USB, uh, or they don't have to have a USB microphone. They don't have to have like a XLR.
Mhm.
They can just go 1/8 inch into their, the ZVE10 got the same update, so you can use now the ZVE10 for USB streaming. So I think the cameras that can USB stream now are the ZVE10, the A7C, the
ZV1,
A7 IV,
ZV1,
and the A7S3,
ZV1.
and the ZV1. Yep.
Yep. The ZV1 is the first one to actually have the USB streaming function. All of them you
Yep.
can pretty much use in Sony Imaging Edge if you want to run. I mean, Sony Imaging Edge, once you put it on your computer, everything's plug and play after that, anyways. But it's nice to be able to have the camera just be like its own streaming thing and not have to run a third party. You just plug it in, everything works. And the audio can go through the camera, which is awesome. You don't need that separate
Yep.
one. So,
Yeah, Hassan, I love this Rode Procaster. It sounds great. The K3M is great. I got this my I'm trying to do this right here. This is the um Rode NTG5. So I'm going to be switching to this for my talking headshots and running it into the K3M. So I'm really excited that I haven't started using, I haven't done a video with it yet, but it's already set up here on the, I'm just gonna boom it over me, and
mhm.
it's gonna sound very good,
and
very
I'm
good.
and I'm still just using a USB ATG video mic. I'm still using mine on my. You guys, I have a goofy setup. I have this little magic arm that holds my whole thing up to my desk mount. Then you can just put it where you want and then lock it down and boom. We should go I should do the whole channel like this. Just focus on the. I still love this mic, Paul, because it's so multi-purposed. It's a great on camera. It's good for studio. It's good for USB. It's great.
This mic is a fantastic mic to get if you need a first microphone, because you could literally do it all. You can do talking head on top of your camera, go out the USB-C on the side of this thing, have a USB mic for streaming. Um, and yeah, this thing is great. I love this microphone. I had the D80D3 Pro, and this thing I feel like is worlds better, not only in sound quality, but the D80D3 Pro, you had to like turn it on first and leave it in like a standby mode. This thing, I literally just plug it into my camera, and when I power my camera on and press the record button, it automatically turns on, and when I stop recording, it turns off. So this thing is just like full auto, and I don't know. I don't know why more people don't like the Video Mic Pro Plus. Isn't this as smart either? I think this thing sounds a little bit better than the Video Mic Pro Plus, a little more crisp. I think maybe the Video Mic Pro Plus has a little bit more boomy sound, maybe just a
Yeah, it
hair, but
does.
this thing, I don't know.
I feel like the people that use that mic still only use that mic because they've been using that mic. So
Yes,
I was gonna say, of course you're using Rode. You're from Australia.
of course.
Yeah. I mean, do they even have other microphones down there? I don't
Is
know.
it cheaper in Australia to buy?
It probably is. I don't know. Cheaper than not cheaper than what you paid for yours, Paul.
No, not sure. Rode has been very nice to me. I love Rode. I would love to go to visit Rode, the facility, and actually see how they have the a brilliant manufacturing over there, and they make everything in Australia. And they have machines that just they drill out the microphone, everything. I'd love to see. I mean, I've seen YouTube videos of their place, but it would just be really one of those places
Mhm.
that's just really cool to go see.
Sometimes
Um,
visiting those kind of places though are a little underwhelming. My band's endorsed to this company called Orange Amplifiers, and I
mhm.
went to Georgia. The U.S. headquarters is in Atlanta. I went there and it was kind of like, okay, I feel like this building used to sell carpets maybe at one time. It's like one of those little carpet warehouses, and And then I went to the UK and I went to their like headquarters down in the UK. I was like, this is gonna be so cool. And it was just this like warehouse in the middle of nowhere and like an hour north of London. They had a nice little like photo room, and then everything else was just kind of like an old warehouse. And the dude that
Right.
like makes all the amps was just playing some notes on his bass, and he'd rip a thing out and solder something new in, and he was playing some more, and he was just literally making an amp while I was there that like a month later was already in production.
I think it's cool.
But it was such a like kind of I was like, oh, okay. I was expecting this to be like way more like corporate and not just kind of whatever. But I did get to see. I think I showed you, Paul. I did get to see Jimmy Page's like original amplifiers that have recorded like every Led Zeppelin album because they were
Yeah, you
they
told
were
me
putting
that, yeah.
they were putting new tubes in it at the time, so it was actually they had both of them sitting there, and I just snapped a picture and was like, that is history. So.
So yeah, Desmond says he uses it a lot for web conferencing, talking heads, the NTG video mic. He also pairs it with a wireless Go 2, and you get a wireless boom. Yes, I use my NTG video mic at in my work studio with a wireless Go, and it's to wirelessly boom the audio, so I don't have to have like a friggin' long cable running all over the place. It works great. The interesting thing is when I use the D80D3 Pro in that same scenario, I was getting a lot of RF interference. So it just kind of goes to show like the shielding is way better in this Rode microphone than the D80D3 Pro. I was just getting. I mean, my school does have like cop radios and stuff like that, like with heavy duty that I can like the walkie-talkie that I have, I could like drive like 2 miles away from my work and still be able to talk to the people from the school still on it. So that there's a lot of RF frequencies going on in my campus at school, and I had no problems with the Rode NTG video mic. So and I had like a ton of problems with the D3 Pro, and so after that I was like, I got to get rid of this microphone. From the average Joe, it probably wouldn't make a difference, as long as you're not in those atmospheres. But with me, I didn't want to run into anything like that with I was using that mic for client work. And then, I mean, I guess now if I have talking head client work, I will be definitely using the NTG5 into the K3M from now on. But yeah, I mean, I can still use the NTG video mic for anything. So I think it's a great mic to have. It's definitely a first good mic to have for anybody. But go
I've been
Rode.
using
I'm a Rode fanboy all the way.
I started using the Rodecaster Go, the most expensive,
The wireless Go 2.
the most expensive piece of plastic. I love
$30.
that this is. I love that. Well, I don't know. I might have paid more than $30 for this, but
I thought it was like
honestly,
$30.
I don't remember. I just love how it's just a piece of plastic. You slip the thing in there and you cover it, and now you have a nice mic. There's something fun, Paul, about just sitting there holding something like this instead of just clipping it on. It's in my next video as well. I use this, but I don't know. I love it. I kind of like it. I still got to do my Rode Wireless Go 2 in-depth video, and now there's some new updates, which is really cool. I don't know if you saw that, Paul.
Yes.
They added even more firmware updates again for like the 9th time. So I've downloaded 2 of them already, and now I'm like, as soon as I got it, I downloaded the 2 new firmware updates. I start using it the other day, and there's like new update available. I was like, come on, Rode, you're too proactive with your updates. But I think they're going to be good.
Proactive.
They're going to be good. By the time I finally get it all done, they have another one out. It seems like, so we'll see. I'll maybe postpone that one for a minute. I'm going to do the next I'm going to do the next live stream like this, Paul.
Welcome to the live stream.
I'm probably not going to put a mic in here, but I'm going to do the next live stream the whole time like this. Speaking of the next live stream, we're not here next Wednesday, right? Correct.
Nope. It's my wife's birthday, and you're at a Timberwolves game. So
Timberwolves,
Timberwolf game.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna be at a game, so I got some free tickets.
Nice.
Speaking of which, next year I might apply for one of those camera guy spots that sit on the court side.
Really?
I saw one this year, and all year, every time I go to one of those games, it's just like you see that guy down there, and he's sitting there with his they have like a couple guys. They have one guy that's got like an FX3, and then like every 20 minutes he'll leave and another guy will come in. And I think that's because they're probably going to dump the footage and like edit something real quick and throw it on their Instagram.
Oh,
Because you know how
sure.
they always do little highlight things. But then the other guy comes out and he's got the A7S3, and you just sit there, see him sitting cross-legged, just like filming everything like this. And I'm like, I
I
wonder how
wonder
much
if
you get
like,
paid to do that.
well, I wonder if they have to bring their own stuff or if like it's
Oh,
all provided
for
or
sure, for sure, they have to bring their own stuff. I think because
okay.
it's kind of like
It's
a
like a
contractor spot.
right.
But
You're
I
right.
kind of wonder, it's like if they get paid well, like would that be a fun job? It'd be
I
very
think it'd be
busy, and
kind
I
of
think
cool.
it'd probably be hard to have a YouTube channel at the same time. But especially since you can't share any of that. Because it
Oh,
would be all
right.
proprietary, and NBA or
And
the team would own it. So
you'd have to definitely get a bigger like a 70 to 200 or something, you know.
you'd have to have a stabilized 70 to 200 like Sony lens probably.
Yeah.
But it would be fun. I think it'd be kind of a cool thing. But it's fun. Like I love that when you're a camera nerd, you go to a basketball game and you're like, "Oh, is that guy got an FX3? What lens is that?" And then people next to you are like,
I would love to play with an FX3. So Desmond, come over to my house and let's have fun. I
Where's
actually have
Desmond
a
from?"
friend that lives in Orlando that is also Asian. I just haven't got a chance to meet with him yet. He's got an FX3. He was the other guy that was sending us footage on the Crane M3. So I want to play with that camera. Even though it's, it's like an A7S3, but I love the form factor of it. It's great.
Where's Desmond from?
Desmond, where are you from? I think California?
I see he's got some beaches going on in his videos, but
Cali? I think he's from Cali. I want to say he's from Cali. Come
I
on,
wish
Desmond.
I want to start putting, I want to update my about section and put like where you're from in there and stuff. I think that'd be kind of cool to know.
Yeah, we're about to have to call this, but
Yeah, for sure. But yeah,
Desmond, where are you from? You have anything else to add before we close this bad boy out? We've been going on for a little bit over what we typically go over.
yeah, there'll be lots of gear. I'll probably own some of it. Paul will probably try to own some of it if he
I'll
if they
try.
if so,
You know,
yeah, or he'll return it
I
and
would
sell it
love to have
and
a CB1.
flip it. And I'm hoping for a ZV2. I can't believe we got to an hour and a half and I forgot to. ZV2 is probably going to be out next year. I would
You think
almost
so?
bet my money
I
on
would
it.
love that because I'm gonna be all over that thing. I'm gonna
It's been
come in.
a hot seller from Sony, and it's got some flaws. I think they're going to fix those flaws, and by flaws I mean focal length. And I think we'll see a Mark II or ZV2 or whatever you want to call it. I think we're going to see that maybe late next year.
Thanks, Steve. Yeah, he's Desmond's from the Bay Area, so I was right.
Like San Fran.
San Francisco.
Okay. San Fran's fun.
From California, where the taxes are high and everybody's gonna have to
I wonder
drive
if they
electronic
fix.
cars pretty soon. And if you do yard work, you're gonna be having to have all electron, no more gas powered lawn equipment. I hear over there in California, they're just going all batteries, all batteries.
Paul, I went to a restaurant in San Fran. It was owned by
Yeah,
oh, what's the director's name? Why can't I think of it now? Apocalypse Now, the guy directed it. He has an Italian restaurant in San Fran though.
cool.
And it's awesome. Anybody come up with that? I can't remember. How can I forget this right now? Couldn't have even brought it up.
ZV2, man. That's I hope they come out with that camera next year. Because I would be very, 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 very tempted to buy that one. Seeing how successful you have had on your channel. I mean, it's like one of those. If they come out with that camera, every content creator better go out and run out and buy one because just seeing the success on your channel with the one, yeah.
I did not expect as many people to follow my channel based on that camera. Then I would have expected the APS-C and full frame, but a lot of people have that camera and really want to know how to use it better, and that's cool. Francis Coppola, that's his name. Duh. Francis Coppola has an awesome Italian restaurant in San Fran. I bet Desmond's been there because it's good. Unless he doesn't like Italian food.
Who doesn't like Italian food?
I don't know.
That's like, yeah.
He doesn't probably
like,
want to have some outsider from Minnesota telling him where to go in his own hometown.
I love all kinds of food, man. I love sushi too. Oh, God, sushi.
ZV2. If there's a ZV2, Paul, I'm going to pre-order that thing immediately, and I will hound Sony to give me the damn camera ahead of time this time. I finally got messages back from them on that ZV-E10, and they were like, "Oh, sorry, we don't have any demo models to send you right now." And
they got back to you?
One. Yeah, like 6 months late. Which is funny because on the Sony's like point and shoot line and the ZV-E10, their Instagram is like vlog by Sony or something like, or vlog camera by Sony. And like they actually, when I started my channel, they found my channel and they put me as the Sony like vlogger of the month or whatever it was. And I was on their like Instagram thing for a while. And so like immediately I thought I had that like that network with Sony. And so, yeah, I'm hoping that by the time they have a new point and shoot that I might be on their list of people that get that camera. At least I would hope so. I feel like every one of my ZV-1 videos are ranked, so I shouldn't be in for them. Maybe they should be giving me one since I've been doing something right with that camera. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just want it. I just want that camera. It's a fun camera. It's the most underrated camera of 2021 for sure.
I was tempted to buy one. I mean, they've been going on sale for like $530 when and it was very tempting just to have one just because you could leave it in your pocket at all times. But when the 2 comes out, for sure, it's gonna be a moneymaker right there.
This is funny.
Everything is just yes.
Isn't it already? Except for the cable cars, those will still be powered by something else.
Well, that's we're going to call it a night. It's been a late night, so I just appreciate everyone stopping by.
You don't have another 2 hours in there?
I mean, it's 11 o'clock over here. We can keep going, but Desmond, appreciate you stopping by. Steve, thanks for stopping by. Hassan, Patrick, all you guys, thanks for stopping by and being a part of the chat. Of course, we always appreciate all you guys, and you know, we're not streaming next week, so we'll see you guys in about 2 weeks. But maybe we'll have a creator camp. No, we're not gonna buy them, but we're getting closer. Baby steps, right? Whenever the snow goes away. And we're going to close this thing off with reporter Kyle Watts. What do you have to say, sir?
It's 5 degrees in Minneapolis, and I'm going to go sit by the fire, so signing off.
One shot, now the future is yours. Go! One shot for the kill, the breeze come freeze up, straight dropping the chills. I'm talking taking over pieces and shares of all break sky high. Check the movement is here, yeah. It's one shot.